Hello, this is your wise-ass astrologer, and I'll get to the bloody blood moon in a minute. But first, if you are paranoid and stubborn, raise your hands. I don't see any hands raised, so I can only assume that you are raising your hands and pointing accusatory fingers at me behind my back or behind your computer screens. It's still Scorpio season, and we still got this gossipy Mars and Gemini, Mercury and Scorpio mutual reception stuff going on that can make us think that people are talking behind our back at all angles, bending and twisting our words, penetrating our brain from every point imaginable. But we can only obsess about so many different things at one time. And that's where the full moon and Uranus and Taurus comes in to bring us unexpected calm. Now, I am usually less than enthusiastic about the notion that full moons and new moons have special meanings. This full moon does indeed have a special meaning, and it is not because it's made out of blood orange soda or whatever this moon is supposed to be made out of tonight. I'm not drinking the nectar of the moon, although with Uranus and the moon in Taurus and Venus in Scorpio, it's not a bad time to drink the metaphoric nectar of your lover as long as it's non-violent and in good taste. But back to what I was saying. This full moon does have a special meaning because the ruler of the Taurus moon, Venus, is in the opposite sign in the sky right now, as it's sitting with the sun in Scorpio. So this really highlights and adds even more depth to the innate layers of opposing forces that this total lunar eclipse brings. The moon and Uranus in Taurus brings to mind the old adage that says insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But I am stubborn enough to say that we don't have to change things completely. It's not that we're always on the wrong path per se. It's just that with the Gemini and Scorpio influence added to the equation, we need deep insight into our personal process from a variety of places. It's just repeating things and slightly changing the arrangement of things to see if it strikes a different tone. For example, I had a twice-baked potato this morning. They just rearrange the potato and add some unhealthy crap and bake it all over again to try and make things interesting. So you see, obsessiveness and stubbornness can go together like strange and kinky bedfellows. Now, I'm not saying it's like sleeping with a twice-baked potato. No, sir. I'm saying as we try to make all these connections with our deeper wiring, it's okay to be suspicious, and it's okay to be unwavering in our suspicions as we explore the deeper balance in the world, as long as we are considering every little viewpoint and angle known to man and woman as we penetrate the surface from every which way. See, I even penetrated the surface by cutting myself shaving this morning, and it wasn't even to prove a point of transformational Scorpio blood or anything. But the chin is associated with Taurus, just saying. So yes, penetrating the surface from every which way. And when we do that, we will hold firm to our stubborn, screw you approach. And it will bring us a kind of calm tenacity that affirms that we have substance. It's fixating on your target, when the target of your obsessions is just sitting there peacefully. All right, so I got my target bag. It's very 60s mod roundel-ish. Here's the thing, as I said earlier, with Mars and Gemini and Mercury and Scorpio, we can only obsess about so many things at one time. But we realize that we are able to connect all of our obsessions into one force, where every obsession is relevant and everything we have touched in the past comes together at the right time to provide the deep insight that we are trying to impart onto the target we are trying to woo or seduce. Whether that target is a person, place, or thing. In the Wheel of Fortune of life right now, the entities of the wheel and the fortune lie on opposite sides. Our brains and our obsessions are the wheel, and our target is the fortune, stubbornly sitting there and causing an uproar as it waits for us to probe into it. There's a lot of stuff going on in our brains, but the target of our obsession is ignorant to that. And that ignorance may be shocking, but that is okay because the target we are after provides calmness and stability. That's the reason we are obsessed with it, because it is much more serene than us right now. We have to trust that our messages of deep insight will connect with what or whom we love when the time is right, and bring it or them peace and stability, when peace and stability are so desperately needed for survival. There are also rules we have to consider in all of this. There's a tunnel vision approach to the intensity of what we deeply desire. So with Saturn in Aquarius squaring the Scorpio and Taurus energy, we have to take a step back and attend to the structure and rules so we are not ignorant of the platform, format, or appropriate backdrop that will help facilitate us getting what we want in the social realm that we live in. Because right now it might seem that we only want to pursue what we love and are deeply attracted to or find beautiful, but we are reminded that we do have to live and function in society, and there are rules we have to follow. So we want to use these rules, which we may find trivial on the surface, but we want to use these rules to our advantage, because these rules uphold the system designed to protect what we love and desire. If we ignore the system, it might feel like that this intense beauty is wasted by not really having a purpose or having a social impact, just an aimless release of our deep yearnings that is reciprocated with personal gratification and shocking pleasure. Copyright your artwork, your music, your poetry, your love story, your recipes, and find the appropriate outlet and format for it, even if you think your love and art and beauty loses its intensity when it is co-opted by society for their own social purposes, or when the intensity of your own personal message is changed by society, and a therapeutic effect of your own private gratification is lost. If your love story or artwork has true transformational power, it can have a social impact. If you don't want your art or love to be co-opted by people or have an impact for something that it wasn't intended for, anticipate this so you can control the narrative before society controls the narrative. The Native American whirling log gets stolen by the Nazis who use it for their symbol. Maybe you can't control things like that, but with Venus in Scorpio, pay attention to what you can control, and you'll win more than you lose. What else is going on? Okay, society is coming down hard on conspiracy theories that lack the appropriate sensitivity. I'll give a rundown of the astrological factors involved in that, and then I'll follow with my advice on how to move forward so you're not persona non grata at your award ceremonies. The watery Scorpio planets of the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are forming a harmonious trine to the watery Pisces planets of Neptune and Jupiter. But we have to take into consideration the air factors of Mars and Gemini. And although it's in a mutual reception with Mercury and Scorpio, Mars and Gemini is squaring the Pisces, Neptune, and Jupiter. And we also have to take into consideration the air energy of Saturn and Aquarius squaring the Scorpio planets. Here's what we have to realize with that. There's a difference between investigating everything you hear, reading things from a variety of sources to find the real story, and hearsay, gossip, and repeating shallow conspiracy theories without probing into things deeply and doing your due diligence. When we find the real story, we will be sensitive and compassionate. But when we are informed by shallow yellow journalism, we won't be able to accept the depth of many different people's experiences. The moon entered Taurus at 12:14 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday morning. The bloody blood orange full moon occurs at 6:02 a.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. on Tuesday morning. Realize your obsessions are beautiful. Be at peace with the intensity of your own beauty. This message especially goes out to people born in early November. The moon enters Gemini at 8:36 a.m. Wednesday morning. It will trine Saturn in Aquarius Thursday night, and it will conjunct Mars in Gemini at 8:34 a.m. Friday morning, while simultaneously squaring Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. If you are seeing things from an overwhelmingly sensitive lens at this time, it's not a bad time to disguise your feelings with different fronts, so your emotions aren't flying all over the place. Late Pisces and late Scorpios might find it helpful if they have things to do to distract them. And if you play the Powerball lottery at this time and win the $2 billion, which I'm assuming you will, with all the random Mars and Moon and Gemini activity being thrust onto you from all different directions, you're going to want to be secretive about your winnings. Mercury and Scorpio will help you with that. And you might want to be very charitable with your $2 billion, with Jupiter and Pisces. But Neptune is also there right now, so keep an eye on who you accept into your life. The moon goes into Cancer at 7:22 p.m. Eastern Time Friday night. And on Sunday afternoon, there will be six planets involved in a grand trine in water. There's a lot of overwhelming emotions and intense sensitivity to drown in with that. There's an easy flow to those emotions, but there will also be no planets in fire. So again, we're going to have to use that Mars in Gemini to burst out of that and distract ourselves with activities to do. Like distract yourself by listening to the Beatles. It's obviously what I do to distract my wise-ass self. So peace, love, stars, and listen to the Beatles, especially when you need a deep distraction. Or listen to me deeply distract myself at the piano.